Good morning, everyone. Big week. Let's get this over with. All right. The markets aren't changed that much from Friday, as you can see, and down a little bit. I mean, the numbers. You can see the futures there down a bit, right? Whatever, 250. But on the chart wise, it's really not much of a big deal. Ranges are relatively large lately. And so we got plenty of room to go down. We'll see how aggressive institutions want to be. I think that personal preference. Let's get it over with. Down as much as possible into the news. The news comes out, probably a bunch of jiggles, and sets at least a short-term low. Last week was a big down week. As you can see, it negated the buy setup. Remember a couple of weeks ago when we talked about this, I mentioned this was a possibility in this current situation, and it happened in a big way. You can see it wasn't a little reversal bar, it was a monster reversal bar where it actually triggered and took out the highs. And historically, this results in a measured move to the downside. You say, what's a measured move? For those who don't know, well, it's just like every other pattern. Patterns reproduce themselves, so to speak, or they just happen again. And you get this buy set up into this area of support. And this was, it did show strength, and it could have come up and double top to make it a little higher high. That's also a pattern that often plays out. But when this happens, this initial move, it's about a double down here, which would take it down to that low, and maybe a little lower down toward 3,600, which I think would be kind of perfect for at least stabilization, technically, for some kind of a bounce. So I got this on a 180-minute chart. We usually look at a 60 just to compress the data to see what is there to the left. And you can see it's kind of on that little area right there. I can't get that to move. Okay. This little pivot, which isn't much of anything after a nasty reversal like that. So, essentially we have another void. Things are stalled here. Here's your pivot high resistance. And unless it gets above there, which is pretty much Friday's high, the assumption is it's going to work its way lower. There's a little support down there, 3830-ish, whatever it is, or that pivot low, 3,800. Let's call it 3,800 because it probably takes out that low, hits the whole number, maybe then a bounce from there, but there isn't much to stop it. So when you see these kind of lows in place here, short term, they can be little stall points, but ultimately, this is what would be perceived if it comes down there in a fluid way. Maybe it collapses down there. This is the area or down below, which would be perceived to be a place where buyers would be more comfortable for a tradable bounce. So again, unless it can get above here, probably works its way down there or goes sideways, whatever it's going to do. I don't think this is going to be an easy situation because it's moved quite a lot in a short amount of time. It took out these lows, and a lot of times you get stabilization after that greater than 100% retracement. But it started with a monster bar. It didn't work its way down and take it out. McGraw's telling me SPX 18 points lower than ES because of roll from September to December. Okay, so rolling. Okay. So wherever that puts us, I'm looking at back here to these pivots on the futures. And ultimately, that's where it's got to go. And so we'll get to SPX. This is kind of my routine. Look at the futures. Look at spiders. And you can see it's about in the same areas where it was Friday. You can see the crosshair there came down there, and it's stabilized. So really not a big deal, even though it down, but we've got this gap lower, which opens up the door, to possibly coming into the gap fill I said, it's not going to be, it's not easy. It's a tricky situation here. So these pivot lows there, 370 and, 3,800 really, 3,080 really isn't much there. And so SPX, my SPX. And so I've got written down here 3760, which it's not that far away. I don't think it's a no-brainer. It's below 3,800. That's good. And you got this unfilled gap down here. I want to see how things open up. If they start diving down, maybe there's be some juice a little bit below that 3750-ish where this pivot is. So there you have it. 3,800 you would think would hold, unfilled gap and a whole number. 3930 up above. I got the same, and you can see 3930, 60 by 70. It's not that far away, Jacob. Either way, it's like the downside is a little further. It has to get above Friday's high, and you got to get through 3,800. Yep. So, pick whichever. And essentially they could both work, as maybe everybody kind of just stands by waiting for the shoe to drop. But look, as we go through other things, and we've got the 10-year here. It's not above 3.5. So it was, and now it's coming in. So the market's getting a little bit of relief. So here we've got that greater than 100% retracement. It's right up near that pivot high. So with the 10-year having moved that far, markets having moved down, the question is, does this hold here and start flipping up? It's something to keep an eye on, because if this starts moving up back above 3.5 and starts pushing higher, it's still trending up. Even though it's at resistance, it's trending up. I think the markets start to go lower, because this is the environment that we're in, where everyone's focused on interest rates and the Fed is going to do and so on. So it is up a whole bunch of weeks in a row. Same factory work. Does it break a prior week's low? Does it break a prior day's low? So if you set an alert down here near 3.4, if this is going down, and look, VIX, looking at it intraday, if that's trending down, well, markets should be trending up. That's, the alignment. I did a little video over the weekend. It's on YouTube and mailed it out. It's in the chart of the week. But, looking at a scenario like this, you set up on your page, and we just looking at the daily, where's support, where's resistance, hourly chart. But, this right here, which way's the VIX going? Which way's the AD line going? What are the ticks telling me? So you can go and listen to the video and as measuring the strength or weakness, neutrality at some times, and which way things are moving, to get guidance as to what am I dealing with today. And as an intraday trader, is what I'm dealing with this afternoon the same thing as what's in the morning. So these things change over the course of hours as intraday traders. So something else to keep an eye on. All right, 3-month. Kind of backed off a little bit. Just looking at the things we normally do. The 5-year, you can see the numbers here. The last is, up above the 10-year and the 30-year. So definitely inverted. The 3-month is still below, which is historically a little unusual. Markets change. Usually that inversion comes way ahead of a market starting to correct. But, and we've talked about this in prior videos, how this started trending up a year ago. That was a problem. Transports look god-awful, terrible, with FedEx dropping down. But, rails went down last week. Airlines went down. it's a bear market, and whether you think, well, it's amazing to me that, you hear him on the TV there talking about if we go into a recession, like, where is your head? You're certainly not looking at this kind of stuff or just delusional. Anyway, all right. Interest rates going up, tech's got to go down. So far it's holding here for the moment, holding the area of Friday's low, just inside bars so far. So numbers are down, not much really going on here pre-market. Russell down the other prior low. Something travels from here to here. If it takes it out, usually it's going to stabilize and try and bounce a little. And it's trying here a little bit, but I don't have anything clear to go on yet. Bitcoin, wow. Remember that monster up move? It's all the way back down here again. Yeah, well, you know what, Rob, I saw a clip of him. They're asking Joe Biden about, the numbers and recession and inflation and how high it is. And just, these politicians, they're always prepared for what to say. And what do you say? But look where we're at. Look where we're at. It's like, yeah, Joe, look where we're at. We're all, we're like, screwed here, right? It's terrible. He says, the assumption, well, but, it's at the turning point. Everything's going to get better from here. I'm going to go back to the bunker. Don't get me started. Anyway, Bitcoin holding at the prior lows. So, you know what? Things are down here this morning. We don't have much of significance really going on. There's some follow through from last week. Nothing major. We'll see how it plays out. Silver holding up relatively well. We talked about this last week. It's interesting because, gold is going down. Usually they move in the same direction. Maybe it's anticipation of the Fed is going to stall for a while after this. We'll see. Yeah. Crude oil, coming near a prior low, it's down, and there's a void down below here. So there's the possibility for things to, as we know, to drop precipitously here, and you're near some support. So as I said, it's not going to be an easy situation here in the short term. So we'll see how things play out here. I think I looked at everything kind of short here. I mean, the dollar is kind of holding steady here. The yen has been getting destroyed. That's bouncing a little bit. You can see the euro, back above parity, but just chopping around. So maybe it's going to be a beach day. I don't know. We'll see how things play out in the first, 5 to 20 minutes or so and see how things play out there. So all yours, Dan.
I was out the door. I heard beach day. Good morning. All right, so my bias from Friday was slightly bullish if we could have taken out the high. I was very shocked that we closed green with that FedEx news. I mean, that was some ugly news they gave. But I said over the high, maybe gap fill under the low, then our scenario was playing out. And we're gapping here, so this could be an ideal 30-minute low situation, gap into Friday's low and not going anywhere. So I'm still bearish here. We have a number of bullish trades though in the letter, and I'm fine with them because it's the scenario of they're not going to trigger unless they're good. Netflix being one of them. Look at Netflix, bullish engulfing closing breakout, gapping up, got an upgrade today. That's a put spread. I mean, that's on its own page, regardless what the market's doing. Raul asking about Upwork short. Yeah, yeah, maybe. Mondays I like waiting 10 minutes instead of the typical 5, just to give it a little bit more, just sit back and watch. But yeah, that's a weak animal. Yeah, looks horrible. There's so many of these that I actually had as long-term bottoming patterns. Look back here in July. This looked like a possible core long. And so many of them have just given it up. The bottoming pattern failed. So how low can it go? I have no idea. But yeah, it looks weak. I'd say 10-minute low. Make sure the market's not bouncing. What happened to Amazon? JS asked me. I'm not sure what that means. I don't understand your question. It was a gap breakdown. There's so many damaged charts with bearish engulfing on the weekly. I had Dell. I just had up alarm go off, but that might have been a bad tick. That's a textbook W bottom, but a double bottom in a downtrend. All right, so I'm just going to reset the alarm. Dollar Tree, another double bottom. It's kind of gapping all over the place. I'll reset that alarm. So Netflix looks the best so far. This stock had earnings, AZO, AutoZone, another double bottom. And I wanted to short puts on this into the close on Friday, but it was crazy spreads, but it was a good pattern to do it. And I notice here AAP gapping up in sympathy. It's a competitor. And not a textbook double bottom, but I like the new low plus. I like the fluid move down, gapping up to Friday's high. So if this takes out the 30-minute high, then that's a long day trade idea. Maybe put spread too. Yeah, I like that, Thomas. Yeah, that's a closing gap breakdown. Big old descending triangle. Yeah, I like that one. So for new trades, it's going to be more difficult. And this is a beautiful example, Thomas, of a new trade setup that I like. You had the top and tail, failed reversal on Thursday, closing breakdown, daily, weekly. I'm going to put that here. That looks really good. I did the trade of the week of this stock fast. This was another great example last Tuesday, where it was hard to get new trades because of the monster gap down in the CPI. But this was an example of one. It's a gap from bearish consolidation after this deep retracement. There's a lot of interesting things to talk about on that chart. Blue is a little bio. This thing used to be a high flyer. Look at that, 160 bucks. Ideally, it would close like right around $7, and then maybe we get a breakout tomorrow. So I'll keep an eye on that. McDonald's was green pre-market. It's a retest. So that if it stays an inside bar for 30 minutes, then after 10 a.m. that would be an adequate day trade long over Friday's high. BWin light volume gapping up to 320. Let's see how much room we have on the weekly, monthly. There you go. There's a double bottom on the monthly. So it's already triggered. The double bottom's already triggered, but it still has a void. up to $5-6. So let's keep an eye on this little thing. Put it over here in that window. SGML. Why am I looking at you? I have no idea why I'm looking at you. Rum. They said this was going public today, and it was a SPAC. So I don't understand the history of this. It's been trading for a month, but Rum is taking it over today. Somebody will have to explain that to me later. Here, this is a big pro gap. It's too big. But again, I mean, that's gapping off the top of this chart. That's a very bullish gap. RE gapping up, but no price void. And that's a big top. OXO. that's another SPAC. Look at that. Well, I can't even tell if that's real, the blue line, but it came out. And it could set up as a day trade. You got a big void up here. TTD, I think, got some positive mention in Barron's, but no pattern. Wix, I think an investor group came out and said they took a big stake, so it's one of those gap ups on old news, like people are famous for chasing Buffett. T2, I had this on my list for a condor. Look at that. That's a beautiful setup for condor. I think I looked and there was inadequate juice, but it's just bobbling around in a wide sideways trend with flat 20 and 50. SI, I think is down with the Bitcoin stocks. The Bitcoin is smashed. All the usual suspects, but they're not good setups for long or short. J reaffirm guidance. I don't see any prints. We'll come back to you. Purple, $4. Bullish gap. We'll come back. Tan, big sideways consolidation at the rising 50. If it takes out last week's high, it looks higher. XRT, I mean, set an alarm if you want a little bit below Thursday's high, because this was an attempted double bottom, which is not really holding right now, but it might. XBI set an alarm at Thursday, over Thursday. I like that as a put spread. Greg mentioned LVS and Win strong. I like those converging moving averages there. I just don't like Friday's gap down. But as of Thursday's close, that would have been an ideal 1, 2, 3. Had we had a bullish inside bar, then today we'd be buying it over the highs. So see Win at least close stronger within this inside bar. It's not a 1, 2, 3, but it's a put spread candidate. Reiner Air got favorable common and Barron's, but no pattern. CBS, there was an article in Barron's that mentioned 12 bullish stocks, and I went through them all. This was the only one I liked. Stabilization at the 2200, rising 50, not at 1, 2, 3, but a buy setup that triggered on the weekly. So that's a put spread idea over whatever I posted. Newell, why am I looking at you? I think Barron said something about him. Iron, wide range bar on volume, closing breakout. This one is extended on the daily. But look, bottoming tail was an ugly red bar negated, gap down negated. So this is strength. And look at the weekly monthly. So this is a long watch. Because, you know, I would probably put stop for half under Friday's low, last week's low for half. We'll see if it gives us a 1, 2, 3. Epson, it's this, you know, when I see charts like this, it reminds me of the MT Live of making the turn to URN. So it came down to the 50, went up, bottoming tail, retest at the 50, buy setup weekly. ADN, there's closing breakout, nice moving averages. U-Haul had favorable bearings, but no pattern. ABBV, I was looking for a put spread. I think it was illiquid. Yeah, we're already in that. FE, you know, it's in a trade. It's at the top end of the trading range here. Red bar ignored. Bullish weekly with a void. So I like FE over last week's high. Yeah, we're already in EMPH covered call. Humana, I put it as a naked put, but yeah, it's very strong. I would wait 30 minutes for, and I'm not going to be buying things unless the market is at a minimum stabilized, because I'm not going to fight the you know, the tide going out. But yeah, this is on my long watch list, absolutely. OPI, double bottom, new low plus. I like that on volume. So see, it made a new low, 180 reversal after new low. I like that. In fact, I'm going to set an alarm. $17.50. What did I get filled on? It had to be a target. Well, actually, I did put some naked things out that were real spreading. All right, see, now it's a bearish gap. So now my bias of that has just changed. Now I got no interest in it. ADN. ADN is triggering. That was a long. Netflix is good to go if you can get the premium. Dollar Tree alarm. Oh, I had a bid up for my UPS at 50 cents that just got filled. All right, this one I didn't make official, but I know some of you were trading it with me last week. I had the 162.50s. And I had a GTC 50 cents that I just got filled on. So I'm out of that. Home Depot's triggering for a put spread. I posted it Friday and I got an email saying he didn't get filled, so I just left it off. IIPR is hitting. That was a put spread idea. You know, Wolf. See, these longs are triggering. Look at Wolf. Fun is the alarm. Yeah, wow, these 5-minute horsemen are popping. All right, so all the funds a go. And I just got filled on FedEx at 45 cents. I had a bid out for that. I was short the puts. I short the 140s. Let's go ahead and cover half and move stop yesterday's low. Actually, you know what? Let's just take it so we don't have to hold over earnings. I mean, it's still a long way away. Yeah, Starbucks was on the list from last week. Yeah. FedEx might even be a day trade. Yeah, I would like Starbucks, Thomas, if it closed right here, and then you can do it over Friday's high. Bravo. Oh, Bravo truly. That's a low alarm. All right, Bravo Juliet was a long over Friday's high. Fun Wolf. Yeah, PayPal, we have that one naked puts. All right, BABA bottom right. BABA would now be good under the day's low because then it'll be green bar ignored. So that if the market falls apart, this is a tier one. And this AHCO, remember I mentioned Friday, and I said to wait today, but that looks good. It actually gapped over entry, so you know, Friday would have been the perfect answer,